Hello my friends and welcome. It seems like Ukraine created the trap for the Russian forces in Robotine village. We are speaking about the southern part of Ukraine. Russia has multiple attempts in getting into this small village, and partially they're able to enter it. But with every their attack, they're losing tremendous amount of the forces. The idea for Ukraine is to concentrate the fire right at the entrance to Robotine from the south. Russia has two of the attack vectors, however, but only this one is more or less successful, which led them to go into the settlement. I had to censor the screenshot a little, so this is the latest Russian attack and lost many of the armored vehicles plus infantry personnel. Why is it happening? Because Ukraine continued to use the FPV drones equipped with a night vision camera or thermal camera. Those are damn expensive, but they bring profit. By the way, the full video about this particular case is available on my Telegram channel, plus lots of the other information that I constantly publish there, so please check out my Telegram group in the video description just below or scan the QR code. And here's one more video from Robotine with the Russian assault vehicle with infantry vehicle which was kaboomed with the help of the FPV drone. Some of the Russian supply convoys were also ambushed on the south. Russia is losing lots of the army trucks. Because Russia is losing many of the vehicles, they constantly send those to the front lines. But on the south, if we speak about Robotine and Kherson Oblast, Russia mostly sends the old-school T-62 and T-55 tanks. Those were spotted today in Crimea. We have the information from our guys who were able to film those kind of the videos on occupied Russian territories. Those tanks were spotted in Yevpatoria and later on will go to Kherson Oblast or to Robotine somewhere in Zaporizhia Oblast. I expected that Russia would occupy Robotine very fast in a few days, but Ukraine still holds there, and for me it is a miracle. Indeed, our guys were able to organize the proper defense of this settlement, but still Russia will take it under control with their constant midwaves because they accumulated around 50,000 soldiers near to Robotine and Verbovo, which is nearby. Let's go to the Bakhmut area where Russia moved a little for today. They took this part of the ground. Let's go to the timeline. It was yesterday and it is today. But still they're unable to take Ivanovska under their full control. Let's go to this colorful satellite map. You see that they've took just a single street out there, and according to the different source, Ukraine even gained the ground in the place. Ukraine moves northeast and Russia moves southwest over here. As usual, Russians have multiple vectors. They are checking our defense lines for the weak spots and later on they send a major attack to it. Nowadays, Ivanovsk is the hottest spot from all of the front lines. It is relatively a big settlement, a small town or a big village, and the fight for it is very hard. Let's check the 3D map. So this is Ivanovsk and Russia entered this settlement, and also they tried to go on an uphill in this direction and later on to go down to this village from the northern side. But for that they need to cross the river over here, but I don't think it's real for them. So far Ukraine has the advantage keeping the higher ground, but Russians are very close. And we have this video from the Bakhmut direction. Ukrainian BMP went on a place to hit the Russian positions in the local village. Probably it's the part of Ivanovsk. Maybe I should zoom out. Sorry guys, I cannot show you the full video, just some of the screenshots of it. The full video is available as usual in my Telegram. Also, Ukraine took some of the ground near to Pryutne. It's the southern part of Donetsk Oblast. It's not significant, but still Ukraine managed to do it. There are no any significant attacks now happening from both of the sides, and Russia doesn't have lots and lots of the forces like for example in Robotine or Verbovo, but Ukraine is unable to counterattack because we are simply out of the resources. That's why we just see minor frontline fluctuations on the southern part. The place where Russia gets the most ground for now is near to Avdiivka. Recently they occupied Lastochkine. Some of the Ukrainian officials continue to say that Lastochkine is still under Ukrainian control, but it is not true. Russia went to Tonenke. So let's check out the timeline for today. Today they were very aggressive in this direction, so it was yesterday, and this is the recent update. So Tonenke is under the threat right now, as well as Orlivka. I wonder where Russia stops at this point, probably near to this lake line somewhere. Hard to say because we are in lack of the information where Ukraine prepared the positions for defense and whether Ukraine really prepared them. Our General Command staff said that Ukraine withdrew the forces from Avdiivka to some of the prepared positions. Sorry, I should have shown it in this color. But many of the Ukrainian officers say that those positions are not really prepared fully. So it is very hard now for Ukraine to defend this area. Is Russia able to break through the Ukrainian defense and start the massive scale operation? No, they're not able. They'll continue to push, taking some of the ground in place, but little by little. Ukraine is out of the major resources but still have some for defending this area in particular. According to experts, Ukraine needs at least 75 up to 9,000 artillery shells to successfully defeat the territory against the Russian attacks, and up to 250,000 per month for the attack missions. What can I say? Ukraine has obtained 300,000 artillery shells from the European Union per year, from the promised million shells. And now we don't even have 75,000 shells per month. That's why Ukraine is losing its territory. Also, Russians today tried to enter Stepove. Stepove is still under Ukrainian control. Even after our forces left Avdiivka, there were 4 of the attack attempts to that village, and all of them were repelled by Ukrainian defenders. This picture was taken today by the Ukrainian FPV drone in Stepove. You may see many of the Russians on top of their armor. Sorry guys, it was from the Bakhmut direction. This is the Avdiivka frontline analysis from the Micro 73. You may see many of the Russian vehicles were spotted burning in the place, and Russia continued to use aviation bombs on the area, even though they lost quite a lot of the airplanes out there. Also, there was the video how Russians eliminated 9 of our prisoners of war who surrendered to the Russian army, but Russians shoot them. For the recent time, it is already 3rd filmed video about the Russian war crimes. But you know, from what I see, the international organizations are calm about it. Russians have no mercy. Just to remember what happened in Avdiivka. Then they encircled Ukrainian warriors who were not even able to resist because all of them were wounded. Some of them were unable to walk, and Russians decided to get rid of them. Tells a lot about the Russian barbarian army. And for those who support them, well, I wish to feel the real Russian peace on their skin. Like, for example, the Polish protesters who continue to get rid of Ukrainian grains which went in transit through Poland. This video was filmed today on a drone. You can see it was the sabotage act by the so-called Polish farmers. Really, it is the pro-Russian force which is active in Poland, and Poland does nothing to stop it. Well, I think that Ukraine should come out with its own conclusions about the relations with the government of the nearby country. I know that the vast majority of Polish people do support Ukraine, do support Ukrainian people, but there is some percentage of the Polish people who do everything to harm our relations. And the Polish government seems to support it. I don't see any logic out there. Ukraine is your buffer protection country. If Russia occupies Ukraine, the next target for sure will be Poland. And those do everything to harm Ukrainian economy and even blocking the military supplies for Ukraine. Those fuckers even put the nails on the roads near to Ukrainian border, so all of the cars, doesn't matter with military support or with no, will puncture their wheels on the way. And again, in Poland it seems like no one cares, people allow it to happen, including the government. There was a big press conference today with President Zelensky and all of our main military commanders and the intelligence director Davydov. I'll just tell you briefly about the interesting stuff they said. Well, Zelensky said about the military losses of Ukrainian army since the beginning of the war. He said that 31,000 soldiers were KIA and many more wounded. Usually wounded is 3 times more compared to the KIA, so we may speak about 100,000 soldiers who were lost for Ukrainian army, but as for me, the real figure is larger than that. I mean KIA soldiers, based on Ukrainian cemeteries, and new ones are created always. And in Kiev you may find a spot where Ukrainians put each flag for each lost confirmed soldier. Not everyone is there, but if you count all of those flags, there will be more than 31,000 for sure. According to the Western media, those figures are at least 2 times higher. At the same time, President Zelensky said that Russia lost 180,000 soldiers, KIA. Probably it is like that, but no one will really tell you the actual figure. We may look at it after several years, then the war is over. He also said lots of the other stuff, but for me the most interesting that he plans that Putin will stay in power till 2030. and also that Russia will start its offensive operation, the major one during the summer campaign. My prediction that Ukraine will continue to lose the ground all of the year 2024 because our army hasn't obtained the main military support from the United States during the winter time. The winter time is used to prepare your forces for the summer campaign. Ukraine has nothing to prepare the army with. Yes, some of the help from the European Union and our other allies like from Australia, from Canada, but it is not enough for the full-scale defense against the Russian full-scale attack, which might happen during the summertime, as Zelensky said. The intelligence chief Budanov said a couple of the interesting things. It seems like Ukraine is preparing really to cut the Kerch supply or to perform some sort of the big landing operation in Crimea, as I told you before in one of my videos. He said that Crimean operation is one of the main goals for Ukrainian army in 2024. The good news that Budanov dismissed the rumors about the Iranian ballistic missiles that were delivered to Russia. He said that this information is fake for now. He said that the North Korean missiles were delivered to the Russian army, but just few of them. Also about the Navalny's death, he said that really it was a blood clot. I think that it happened because of the terrible environment conditions for Navalny in the Russian prison. Also, the information about the Russian annexation of Transnistria is fake, as Budanov says. The Russian social media of Contact is well monitored by Ukrainians, so we found the information about one of the Russian pilots who lost his life on board of A-50 Russian AVAX airplane. The tribute for the Russian pilot was published by his father, and you may see lots of the comments from the Russian people. And Russia still continued to blame their own air defense. But Budanov said it was the Ukrainian missile which hit the Russian airplane. By the way, we have one more video of the A-50 downing. This is the airplane over there which was hit by some sort of the missile. Sorry about those watermarks, I cannot get rid of them. And just nearby, the eyewitnesses filmed some sort of the, as many people say, missile. But as for me, it is the Russian fighter jet with afterburner. So you can see it was flying, it stopped and continued flying, and there were some of the small flashes like from the strobes. So I believe that it is the Russian Sukhoi 35 with afterburner. Also, people say that it could be the Russian air defense missile. Yes, it could be, but it is not a missile that was launched from the Ukrainian F-16 or something, as the version I also heard. We know that Russia has some more F-50 airplanes, but just look at the condition of those. They need to spend lots of the time to restore those, and I'm sure that they're in lack of the critical components that they're unable to produce any longer. So maximum they have 2 or 3 of those flying. Also, Ukraine has good news about the long-range ATACMS missile modification that might appear in the Ukrainian army. On the picture is the standard HIMARS, by the way, but nevertheless, President Zelensky is quite positive about the future perspective that Ukraine might obtain that kind of the weaponry. Oh, this is a very racist commentary from Dmitry Rogozin, who was the director of the Roscosmos and still remained one of the main Russian officials. So he compared the Sikh Lloyd Austin with the ape. Before his illness, US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin loved being photographed with pygmies. Indeed, it is the most racist thing I saw published by the Russian officials. And Lloyd Austin really has a cancer, he is sick, and they're laughing about him, comparing with the ape. Well, we know that Mr. Rogozin is ex-Nazi. This is his photo at the beginning of his political career, then he supported the Russian Nazis. You can see Belaya over here, which mean whites. And even a little later, he continued to support this Russian movement. It counted more than 100,000 members, more than 100,000. And they're saying something about the denazification of Ukraine. Donald Trump won the Republican primaries in South Carolina, getting almost 60% of the votes. Nikki Haley is the only competitor for Trump in the future presidential nominee from the Republican Party. But we see that she's not making it against the Trump. In every primaries, Trump wins. So for sure, it will be a déjà vu, the battle between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the future elections. As for me personally, I do not like Donald Trump because he is actively blocking the military support for Ukraine. Because of that, Ukraine is failing to resist against the Russian attacks, at many of the points, including Avdiivka. Together with the House Speaker Mike Johnson, they do everything possible to stop the support of Ukraine. They also have the influencers like Elon Musk who help them a lot. So they are reaching their political goals with the price of our lives. That's why I would never support the ex-president, and if he becomes the next US president, it will put the NATO allies under the threat together with Ukraine, obviously. I'm 100% sure that he will not be able to solve the situation in Ukraine, because Putin is goal-oriented to take as many territories of Ukraine as possible, to annex Ukraine, to get rid of Ukrainian culture, and this guy seems not to understand it. I think I'll speak about this issue more on my other channel. I'll put it also in the video description just below. There I speak about the politics also in the United States and the situation in the world. The Belarus dictator Lukashenko is planning to take part in the future elections, which will happen in 2025. He also added that the Belarus elections are the most fair from all of the countries, which is complete nonsense. He also added that Belarus will remain the sovereign state. I think that it is mainly one more oblast of the Russian Federation, not more, not less. It was already occupied without any war. You see how magic the power is. They want to stay in power, they want to get elected. Power, power. Probably after his next term, Lukashenko is planning to pass the power to his son. This is the picture of some of the Nepalese citizens who were fighting for the Russian Federation. 16 Nepalese confirmed to lose their lives in this war. 116 were wounded and 272 lost. I mean, no one knows where they are. And 4 were imprisoned by Ukrainian army. They are going to fight in Ukraine on the Russian side because they're basically poor. And Russia pays a lot for the mercenaries. The official Nepal government already called their citizens not to take part in this mass, but many refuse, go and die. Chinese propaganda also works on the Russian side. Somehow they show some of the Japanese volunteers who fight for Russians. Again, China shows the Japanese volunteers. Especially when they close their faces, it's hard to confirm. Mostly Japanese volunteers are fighting for the Ukrainian side. But it is not impossible for them to fight for the Russian army too. However, something tells me that it is just the pure Chinese propaganda. Those could be not Japanese. After all, we don't have proofs for that. This is one of the kindergartens in occupied Ukrainian region of Donetsk. Those children are Ukrainians, and Russia tries to make Russians from them, using the damn old school propaganda from the very young age. My friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And also, if you want to support my job, you may check out some of the links in the video description just below. You may support me on Patreon or on the sponsorship of this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your kind support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.